Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new episode of NewTechDojo Data Visualization, the new storyteller. Today with me, I have a extraordinary thought leader in the data visualization space, Kate Strachny. Hi, Kate. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So Kate has been listed ranked two amongst LinkedIn top voices in data science and analytics. She's an author. She's published two great books. One was Journey to Data Science, and the second is a recently launched one, The Disruptors, the Data Science Leaders. She's a thought leader in terms of creating videos and content and community around data visualization tools, namely Tableau, Power BI, ClickView, Domo. She runs a popular blog and a YouTube channel, Story by Data. My personal favorite is Humans of Data Science. You really connect well if you are watching New Tech Dojo too. I saw Kate something on Data Created Weekly. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Dedicated Weekly is a project I actually just launched. We're currently in week two of the project. It's an effort, an attempt really to bring together thought leadership from the community, mostly from LinkedIn and social media. But the idea is every week on Fridays, I post a topic. So the first week was last week, and the topic was qualities that make a great data scientist. And for week two, right now, we're talking about business use cases for data science. So it's basically an attempt to get everybody to post or submit a post on storybydata.com. There's like a little form you can fill out on that specific topic or question that I ask. And you write about 100 or to 300 words on that topic. You click submit, and then it gets posted on my page. Some of them get shared broadly on social media. And
Mhm.
then one lucky winner every week gets to win a prize, which varies every week. But we have some really great prizes for this week. For example, we have Matt Bancho's course on business and analysis with R,
Mhm.
and that's a really cool prize. Last week we had a book from Nick Ryan that was the guide to aspiring data scientists. And I mean, I have some really awesome ones planned for the future already as well. I think at least 40 weeks out, I have
Interesting.
giveaways planned, just coming up with topics every week. So yeah, that's a little bit about the project.
So, friends, if you want to win some goodies, there's a link in the description for Data Created Weekly. You can visit the link and post answers to questions posed by Kate.
Yes.
So coming back to storytelling, uh, I've got some bit of storytelling when we talk to investors, right? The art of storytelling seems to be both simple and complex. And when generally somebody is in the operational role, you miss the point when you see a lot of data that stories communicate ideas really well. Um, what is also important to remember is if not presented well, storytelling is almost useless. Uh, what I personally thought in my career was storyboarding is one of the most critical aspect for storytelling. But more to hear from you, Kate. What do you think? How do you create great stories?
Yeah, so storytelling is extremely important. I've actually been storytelling for, I guess, almost all of my career. Even before I got into data science, data visualization, I was in risk management in client service at one of the big four companies. And we, in companies like that, we tend to think in decks. We do everything in slides. So that's how we told our stories, right? We would have like a 10 or 20 page slide presentation in PowerPoint, and we would tell the story. And it was all about how you visualize the information on the slide. So
Mm-hmm.
then when I did start working in data science visualization about 4 or 5 years ago, I already had that kind of idea in my mind of where everything must go. And I think the data visualizations and dashboards can really help in the storytelling process. So when I personally have a message to get across, um, you having that clear title up on top of your visualization, have pointing out some of the clear trends or outliers that you want to highlight using color or bold letters or something like that. So really keeping the audience in mind at all times from the beginning to the end of your planning process for for what story do you want to tell, who are you telling it to, what action or decision do you want them to make at the end of your story, even if it's just informational, what information do you want them to walk away with. So those are all kind of things that I think about for storytelling.
When I start creating stories, I mean, I get bombarded with multiple data types and data formats. Now, how do I pick how to communicate that data? Is there a cheat sheet which you have, which you can tell us how to represent a particular data type?
Yeah, I mean there are several sources online for sure about which data types charts can be used for specific components of data. But I think you get that experience over time, but there are definitely some charts that are just better used for different data types. For example, if you're looking at trends over time or anything over time, really
Mhm.
using a line chart or an area chart, and if you're looking at which category had the most sales, then you probably use a bar chart. So there are some go-to charts for specific data types, but you can break the rules sometimes. If it makes sense for your data, and again, keeping your audience in mind because I think there's a big trend these days to create data art, right? Something that
Mhm.
looks so pretty and it took you 6 weeks to put together, and then your audience is like, wow, that's gorgeous, but what am I looking at? Like there are all these spots and it's 3D and things are moving, but they have no clue what they're looking at. So sometimes simple is best, and yeah, that's but definitely a lot of resources you can find online.
And does who's the audience for your dashboard matter? I mean, if you say there's a middle management looking at the dashboard, or if you say there's a chairman looking at the dashboard, how does the type of audience change with what kind of stories you tell?
Yeah, I think it's not only the level of the people, but also once you get to know the people, right? So I worked with a very high level executive before that you would assume high level executive, he wants the three big numbers, what's my revenue, what's my profit, what's my cost. But in some cases, it's the personality types, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some people really like to get into the details and they want to see all the underlying data. So it's kind of reading the individuals and discussing with them exactly what they want to see. That's usually helpful. But I know most people won't have the luxury to speak to the executive before they present, and in that case, I would just say have two or three versions prepared. So go with high level for the executive, and then have something in your back pocket. Here's the detail if you ask for it.
Right. So make it more interactive. So initially you just show the high level pictures and somebody zooms in or clicks in, they can see the details. And
Exactly. And that's why I love Tableau because we're able to do that so easily with the drill down features.
So coming to the question related to that, so there are multiple tools in the market, right? Tableau, Power BI, ClickView. So Power BI and ClickView are easy to get because everybody has Excel and it's easy to install Power BI as a plugin, or even ClickView, which is open source. So what would you choose, and in what kind of situation?
I think it doesn't really matter what you choose. For me, my choice of tool has been Tableau just for the sake of because when I started working with data, my company told me here's Tableau and here's the data and give me insights.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have much of a choice to even research the other tools out there. I started doing that more recently just to get a sense of what the capabilities are across different tools. And what I've noticed is they're pretty much the same, but once you become really good at using one software, it's kind of like your house. You know where everything is. You know that where to find a spoon in the kitchen.
Right.
When you go to somebody else's house, you're kind of lost, but you can probably figure it out. You know there should be a spoon in the kitchen. I think a very similar concept with the tools. Use whatever tool you want. I'm actually trying to become more product agnostic, where I'm trying to get comfortable in using all the tools, but I keep coming back to my comfort zone of Tableau.
I think Power BI surpassed Tableau over last couple of quarters, but I think Tableau is catching up really well. They're building their own version of Power Pivot and Power Query inside their software, right?
Yeah.
So Can you tell the audience, I mean, what are the best practices of storytelling? What should they keep in mind? What are the common pitfalls when we talk about storytelling?
Common pitfalls of storytelling. I think we covered some of them already. Like not keeping your audience in mind is one of them.
Mhm.
Part two is, some people get overly excited, especially if you're using charts for your storytelling process. Just because you can build it doesn't mean you should build it. Meaning, if you can build a bar chart, a pie chart, and a scatter plot and throw them all in one view and they all mean the same thing, that doesn't mean you should do that. I think thinking more through the process of what you actually want to show and being very intentional about whatever you actually end up placing into the view is really important because that'll help people along the journey, right? So the less clutter that they see in the view, the easier it is for them to consume the story that you're trying to tell.
Can you show us some visualization, maybe something which you've created or presented recently?
Yeah, so one thing I participate in pretty frequently is the Makeover Monday. Every
Ah,
week, you can create a new visualization with different data sets. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Yes. So basically, what we have here is some of my Makeover Monday data visualizations that I've created over the past year. I just basically picked a couple that I liked and have gotten some good engagement on social media. But for those who are not familiar with the Makeover Monday project, it's a weekly project. I'm not the host of that project. I just participate in it. But basically, every Monday, somebody puts a new data set up online at makeovermonday.com, and everybody who wants to practice their data visualization skills can post on social media their take or their perspective on the data set. And then they also have like a sample visualization that was created initially, so you can try to replicate that or you can try to make it better.
mhm.
So what we're seeing here is a couple of my previous visualizations, and in terms of best practices, we can pick one, maybe the one in the middle on the bottom, that lack of gender diversity in social media companies. I think one thing that is working well here is first the clear title, right? People know immediately without even looking at the visualization that there's a lack of gender diversity in social media companies.
Mhm.
And you can you can avoid using an actual color legend that might distract people by using the word woman in pink and men in blue. You automatically know, like in your brain, you associate the pink bars with women and the blue bars with men. And I mean, just the visual of somebody holding the phone kind of makes you think of social media. So there are a few tips for that one.
Mm.
Um, we can pick. You can pick any other one. We can talk about maybe the volcano eruptions. So this one I would say is probably a little bit more busy than most of the things I put together, but there was just a lot of things I wanted to show in the view. But the one thing I'll note is, on the map view on the top left, you can use, at least in Tableau, not sure about all the other tools, but you can use specific icons like the little volcano icon, or you can use a soccer ball if you have, soccer data that can just make your visualization more interesting to your audience. So that's kind of another tip that you can use, and you can use it consistently. Like I had it in the map view, and then I have it again kind of at the end of my bar chart, so you can know to associate that this whole chart is about volcanoes. I
And
think
you
it's
and you
pretty.
created this using Tableau?
Yes, yes. All of this is in Tableau,
Okay.
and you can create this in the free version of Tableau as well. That Tableau Public, so
Okay.
you don't have to pay to do this.
Okay. So coming to the next question, ho- about the career path. What's the career path somebody who's really good at data visualization? Where could they end up into?
Where they could end up, I think there's so many possibilities because there are a lot of companies that aren't, aren't using their data properly right now. They aren't taking advantage of all the data that's being collected. And that's in part because they might not know how to use these tools or how it can benefit their decision making process. So I think there's demand across different industries Although the how do I get my foot in the door question is the more
Mm.
difficult one, right? Because I mean, you probably also get some emails or messages online about, hey, how do I get my first job? And I think that's really the hardest part is getting your foot in the door. And outside of networking and never giving up, I don't have much more advice on that.
Right. And typically, what's the career path? So if I say get into the company, can I do I grow in the reporting line or the CTO? What do I become in the, let's say, 5 years from now or 7 years from now? What role could I be doing on?
I think it depends what industry you're in, what company you're in. It's not really like a new role, but in a sense, it is more new than some of the more established roles where, if you're in finance, you know that to get to the top, you have to be the CFO of a company, right?
Right.
For visualization, it's a little bit differently. I think you're just becoming kind of the champion in your company that you can focus on other things, not only on making things pretty, but you can also branch out into how do you make things more efficient or data collection, data cleaning. You can branch out into other areas once you're in there.
Right. Uh, and since you mentioned, how do I set foot in the door? I mean, what would be your advice to young guys who are just out of college?
Young guys and girls
Yeah, I mean,
can,
guys and girls.
can get their foot in the door. I think by being relentless. I think it's pretty difficult out there. I'm just overseeing how people are, really bright people and they're really driven and all they really want is to just get a job at a company that will pay them fairly to do the work that they love. And it's really difficult for me to watch that they're not being hired and there's definitely some kind of disconnect because you also hear about such a crazy demand for the data knowledge workers. I think the disconnect might be the hiring processes or the application review processes at some of the companies. My main advice is to just network. That's honestly how I've gotten any job in my entire life. Like since I was 13 years old and got my first job as a
Wow.
waitress to working at a bagel store to working at internships. It was the entire thing was through networking. To my first full-time job, even to Deloitte, it was through networking, and a lot of it was actually online. So attending conferences helped, but my online presence also helped me, for example, land a job at Deloitte. Like they saw my blog on risk management, and they reached out to me. A recruiter reached out to me and said, "Oh, you must really love risk management since you write about it all day."
Mhm.
They can sense your passion and your drive. Obviously, luck has a lot to do with that because you have to be noticed. But I think by putting content out there and by just connecting with individuals, and by connecting, I don't mean message people and say, "Hi, please get me a job," because
Mhm.
that will not work, in my opinion. It's not because people don't want to help you get a job. It's just because it's almost like dating, ask me what you're doing first, and in most cases, those people that you're messaging, it's not like they have six jobs lying around and then they've been waiting all day for you to message them and ask for a job, and you're like, hey, there you go. I think if that does happen, that's super lucky.
Mm.
But basically, what's worked for me is just networking.
So I think my advice would be to go on DataGated weekly and post as many answers as you can. I mean, who knows, your next employer is looking there.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.